Hello, today is Wednesday, the 19th of January 2022, and we have just begun another 20-day cycle with red Spectral Dragon. And this is the 8th column going down. As you can see, we're still in the blue. And so this is a very important 20-day process of integration, with it being number 8, and seeing as above, so below, and running down to the bottom, which is, we will be in the yellow by the time we get down to the bottom, because we will be in yellow self-existing sun, and seeing how self-existing we are in our light and free from our shadow story line. So spectral is key to letting go dissonance of where we're not in alignment with the Great Mother code that's coming in, where we're still running survival codes, and wherever we are on our own personal process for that. So yesterday, being the last day of the 7th, which was still in the blue, of course, there, and yellow planetary sun, seeing the manifestation of how much light we hold. So yesterday, a really powerful day, all sorts of things happening astrologically. So just following on from the full moon in Cancer. And so today we're on Wednesday, yesterday was Tuesday. So on Monday, we had the full moon in Cancer at 27 degrees, and all the full moons have been at 27 degrees recently. And the new moons have been at 12 degrees. So again, this is powerful numerology for 27-9, gateway stepping through, and 12, getting clear of the old program, the Gregorian program. So we've only got today and 2 more days to go before we go into yellow seed, and then we've got 2 days in yellow seed, and we go into 10 days of portals, which I'll be doing a separate video on that. So today we have got, the moon is waning now. It's still sort of in its full moon energy though, because it lasts for around 3 days, but it is starting to go now. So we've got the moon in Leo. And at the moment, the moon is in Leo at 21 degrees, which is just conjunct my Mercury. So I've got sun and moon in Mercury. If you have got sun and Mercury close together in the same sign, then that's a very interesting pattern that you can check out. So if you Google that, it's around having light brought to your speech on one level, your messenger from the gods, and however you see that from your higher self. So in terms of Leo, I see that as speaking from a place of love and kindness that's genuine. So my Mercury is at 20 degrees. So this is 21 degrees, a holly bush covered with berries. It is in the snow. Ornamental display and deep underpinnings. Within the karmic theatre, you perform to the hilt as your best self and your worst self, grappling with each other in extreme mutual polarization. The witnessing intelligence is far removed from this dramatization and registering every nuance from beyond. Within the precincts of the drama, there is also a compulsion to go against form and show the other side against what is expected or assumed, yet as the observer beholds this very compulsion, it is minor and trivial, only a personality quirk. The inward wisdom drives you. The karmic performer to outdo yourself in switching, reversing polarities. But ultimately, you are not amused and archly await steps towards maturity and the dawning of ability to see through yourself on the spot, which is a very difficult and advanced state, and the only one that inspires and urges onward, this quixotic combination of outward entrapment and inward fair witnessing with the utmost dispassion. As always, I'll post a link to that. And we have Red Moon today, taking us to the next level. And we have the Two of Cups, love, which again is very connected to Leo, heart energy, and love is all there is, all aspects of love, and what we class as the opposite of love in duality. And actually, it's all part of the same scripts of the trials that we need to go on to learn what doesn't feel loving, what feels conditional, what feels difficult, uncomfortable on our spiritual path and journey. And so I don't know if you feel the zinginess since yesterday when we had North Node drop into Taurus at 29 degrees. And I'm going to read you that in a moment. And so we've got this energy for the next 18 months. It's very powerful energy. It's Isis energy. It is what it is. No bullshit. Practical, grounded energy. And the next cycle is coming up in that. It's what's manifest. It's what we create and what we actually give birth to. It's a new learning. It's the energy of the goddess coming in back into balance, returning us back to the natural cycles because it's time. At the same time, Uranus in Taurus went direct at 10 degrees. Again, manifestation number 1, and number 1 being heart. And so at the time of death, the last thing to stop is the heart. When that stops, that's the end. And the heart being the magnetic attractor and where our spirit resides. If our heart's in it, if we're passionate, then we engage. And if it's not, we live a very different light, or lack of light often. So illumination is one of the keys, and this is what we're looking to bring light to our story, our patterns, how to get free of them. So 29 degrees of Taurus, let's have a look at that. These are all on the website aquaorfire.net. So remember, the 29th degree is the nth degree. It's the anaretic degree. It's the degree of the potentiality, lots of lifetimes. When you add them together, it's number 11. We've got a broken sword, consecration to a higher power. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. This is Leo at 29 degrees. But again, this is significant because this is the age that we are meant to be moving into with a shift of the energy, the planets. So moving away from very egoic Leo energy into softer, moving towards the Virgo service and going back to the sacred feminine, free of the conditioned mindset. So let's have a look. 29 degrees of Taurus, that's all right. A man amuses himself by drawing strange shapes, crystallized imagination, the inside of the inside remembered and evoked whimsically. There is no form, no pattern, no binding reality. Dreaming the world into being from a greatly bemused stance, other. Twinkling observer witness consciousness off on tangents that call a life, a cycle, a realm set aside for inventive play without boundaries. You feel exultant in freedom, swept away beautifully, answerable to nobody and nothing except the muse. So that's a very interesting one, isn't it? And then we've got 10 degrees. Just let me check, is that correct? Yeah, that's right, 10 degrees. So we've got a man exhaling clouds of iridescent smoke, having something to say, a lot to show for your efforts, bringing through archetypal realizations, and giving yourself over to all that this involves, the perfect instrument for something new to be revealed. Selfless service, obedient to the gods, played through by visions, pictures, images, impressions that gather to form breathtaking wholes. Someone who has worked upon this faculty for a long time and now it's quintessentially right. You feel a tremendous surging momentum to say it, name it, evoke the spirit, what needs to be seen. When dazzling gifts are in the works, the destiny is already written in the book of life. It's simply a matter of getting out of the way, paying attention, becoming exceedingly disciplined, and then gathering a fresh synthesis for the many to recognize themselves reflected with transparent, evocative accuracy, a perfect portraiture, direct from nature's workshop, cooked up for the occasion. I love that. Yes, that's feels very Taurusy indeed. So that's quite close to my moon. And yeah, really feel that energy, doing lots of practical grounded things. And yeah, feeling a shift today as well. Something's been switched on, I think, around here. I'm not going to say too much about that. But I think there's been a change in communication, shall we say. And what that's going to mean for us, I don't know. Different bandwidths going on in this area, I believe. So we'll see. Woke up with a bit of a headache this morning. And so tuning in to the vibes, that's key as well at the moment. So I've been running Persephone Path groups for 10 years, 11 years. I didn't actually do one for the first time this year because I've been doing my other 52-day program, which is just mind-blowing. But Persephone Path, if you haven't checked her out yet, don't know how this works with men because I've been focusing on women. But this totally ties in with this shift in the North Node into Taurus. And so I've been working some dates out as well, because this is significant for my patriarchal line. My dad, my son have North Node in Scorpio, and so does my partner. And this is what I love, the magic of this when you start working with these patterns. And so every approximately 18 and a half years, we change North Nodes. And sorry, I said that wrong. Every 18 and a half years, we re-experience our North Node, which also means that every 9 years, we experience our South Node. And if you haven't done any research on this yet, I highly recommend it because it can bring such a plethora of understanding around what you did in your last lifetime and what you're working through in this lifetime. So the North Node is like our soul journey, and it's linked to Persephone, which I didn't realize for years. It's only very recently that I actually twigged how all this fits in together. So it's totally about the North Node in our chart. When we were first 18 and a half, around that age, we had our first, what I call Persephone Path, our North Node revisitation. And often that means a challenging time. So if you Google Persephone or Demeter, Persephone in Hades, Pluto, then you can see the whole archetypal story. And that's how I see all these major storylines in terms of teaching and process and metaphor for what each of us goes through as part of our maturation process, our spiritual process. Or it can be when we are stuck in childhood mode through our whole life, that we don't actually address that and we keep re-experiencing it. So often it means when we've been abducted, we've lost our way because of something quite violent that's been happening to us in terms of the patriarchy story as well. It can be a very violent story. It can be about rape. It can be about loss of innocence. It can be when we had our heart broken for the first time, for example. All sorts of things that create heart wounding and a wake-up call. And of course, this is happening big time now. So we've been in North Node in Gemini over the past 18 months. We've just gone out yesterday. So that was my North Node, and I felt that very strongly. And that finished back in 2003. So we're now going to pick up the storyline from 2003 onwards. If you think back to what you were doing then, and if you want to know more about that, you can also Google what your North Node is. If you can put that and find tables, you can look up when you were born and it will tell you if you don't know how to create a chart. If you want to know more about your cosmic codes, then please do get in touch with me. And I offer a free consultation. And you can then start to put the jigsaw together around why you're here, what your lessons are, what your learning is. And I find that very empowering. And I know a lot of my clients have, as to understanding what that actually means. So North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio is a big power axis around survival, as we can see on the planet, what's going on, around what our manifestations are based on that. In terms of Taurus energy, it can be very stubborn energy, strong, slow to anger, for example, loves food, loves sensual activities, time for lots of potatoes. Moon in Taurus is all about that. My moon's in Taurus. Love massage, essential oils, getting out in nature, grounding, earthing, growing vegetables, all sorts of things that I'm planning at the moment and that I do every year. Great for healing as well. So very practical, grounded ways, just getting on with things in a feminine way rather than a masculine way, which is Capricorn, which Pluto is in Capricorn. So again, depending on where your Pluto is, depending on where Capricorn is in your chart, that can give a lot of insight as well. And of course, we've got the Pluto return coming up in Capricorn in the US starting this week as well, and that's going to build. Also, another big thing that I noticed is that there's going to be a conjunction coming up on July the 26th, as well at the start of the new year, which is going to be on red self-existing moon year. And so this is going to be big. There's going to be lots of tie-ins coming up around that. And so I'll come back to that in a moment. I'm going to say more about that. So let's just have a look at my notes on that. So on yellow planetary sun, it was the end of the 20-day cycle. So that was yesterday. And as I said, Uranus direct North Node at 29 degrees, and Jupiter went into 4 degrees of Pisces. So that's the structure of getting clear, Christ consciousness, really good boundaries, clearing off the old emotional story. And so this 20-day cycle is big because it's coming in with that energy, that expansion of sensitivity as well, deep feelings, being vulnerable, being able to love again, open our hearts, stay open. Of course, we're trained with our body to go into flight, fight, freeze, fawn, is another aspect that's come up recently. Whatever our body needs to do to shut down so that we survive. And of course, our ancestors have done a lot of that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. You can actually go into a place of disarmoring yourself in a safe way, in a practical way, through healing, where you can keep your heart open when you're going through challenging times in challenging situations. And it's a great skill to build. So today, we've got the 29th degree of Capricorn with this 29th degree of the Sun trining the North Node in Taurus at 29. Did I just say that correctly? I'm struggling today with my words. So yes, we're aligning with that North Node in Taurus, going ahead, going forward, taking those steps every day, being practical, being grounded, being in our body, being earthed. And so let's have a look. 29 degrees of the Sun in Capricorn, that's what I'm talking about. So let's just have a look at that degree. An architect carefully surveying old ruins. What is to be seen is the outer skeleton of things. What is to be known is the inner essence of things, the code, the extraordinary revelation. The realization is there inherently in the very substance of existence. A practiced eye can see inside, can penetrate and illuminate. The schooling and perception comes between lives and then overshadows each and every idea or notion anybody can come up with. But to access and do honour to this advanced faculty is rare. The seeing the whole truth is excruciating to the ego mind, and therefore the battle is on to awaken to your innermost truth, or to succeed brilliantly in adapting your truth to the marketplace, selling your soul to the highest bidder. Yikes. And that is the truth, isn't it, just at the moment? So again, often, once you start to really study psychology and how we develop coping mechanisms as human beings, an understanding of everything that's happening right now can expand so much more. If we don't have tools to heal, if we don't have tools around consciousness, then often we go into coping mechanisms because the ego just wants to keep us safe, and it will do anything it can to survive and block out too much bad information that makes us feel scared, that we don't have a way forward with. And that's so important to understand why people deny things, even when it's staring them straight in the face. And I know I have done this in my life. In order to get through a particularly hard stage, I would not look at what was the truth of what was really happening to me until I was ready to deal with it. And that was because it affected my children. Not making excuses for anything that I've done. I've done what I've done. I've made lots of mistakes, and I've done things in a way that often I wish I hadn't. But I knew that that was the best I could cope with at that time because of what I was experiencing around narcissistic behaviour. And we are all doing that on some level right now. We're all coping. You can call it Stockholm Syndrome. There's lots of different labels that you can apply to it. But this is really crucial now to understand why people do what they do and how this has been studied over the years. So that's a big tip, to really start exploring this more. There's loads of information out there on the internet, on YouTube. There's loads of studies out there, and it is very surprising and shocking at times around people behaving in a way that we don't think they're going to. If you've ever had narcissistic encounter in your relationships or your family, you'll be very aware of this, and also you probably won't be that shocked by what's going on now. We all go through these experiences to learn and become stronger. So I look at this with the potentiality that we can thrive. From surviving, we can now go to the next level. So this 20-day process is going to be about all of that. How am I still doing survival mechanisms? How am I still doing coping mechanisms? How am I still on that 29th degree? What's going to take me over to the next stage so I can go into the next sign, literally. And of course, what's coming tomorrow that I'm really excited about, because I love this time of year, is we're going to go into Aquarius energy tomorrow. So today you can focus on what's been happening over the whole Capricorn period, Christmas, if you do Christmas. What is Christmas about really? How have we lost the plot with Christmas? How it's become a big consumer thing? How so many things have been hijacked? The winter solstice, for example, the light coming back, whatever that is for you. What are the positives? What are the things that really challenge you? Where have you been triggered? Where have you struggled? Where have you felt unloved, disrespected? What's the old storyline around that? Because we're going into this new myth, new story. That was the card that I got yesterday that I shared on the Red Dragon group. If you want to join the Red Dragon group, it's a women-only group, and it's for women who are interested in these cycles and circles. So please just contact me or send me a message on here and I'll give you more info. So tomorrow we've got White Crystal Wind and Step 0 Aquarius, so that's a good one. So to get clear about how our spirit is trying to create communications for us. It's Leo and Virgo moon tomorrow we'll be going into. So again, whenever we go into Virgo moon, we're going over old ground around this whole 260-day cycle, what our mindset is, what our beliefs are based on our mindset. Very important to understand. And as soon as we go into Aquarius, of course, we're coming into the new age that we're going into. Again, people have different opinions on when that is, or if that's happening now. And I can feel that things are shifting right now. I can feel that I am starting to become more detached about things through healing and my own personal journey. And really, that's the point of Aquarius. It's not about denial. So it's not about denial of your emotions. It's about healing and having tools so that you can feel all your emotions, heal your old story, and then you're not constantly doing the replay and you're back in that same old with somebody else scenario who's a pattern match for your dad or your granddad or your great granddad even. A lot of these storylines playing out. I've been having some interesting conversations with my mum this week, and people have been popping up from our family that we haven't been in touch with for a long time. And it's so interesting, again, once you start to really connect with the daily cycle and energy, and you start to align with that, and remembering that we're a seed in the sense of, everything that we do as a human being is about working with other things on the planet, sowing seeds so that we can eat. So we become so codependent around this and lost touch with our inner vision a lot of the time about what's good for us, what we should be eating at what time, all of that sort of thing, resting at appropriate times. not being a corporate robot, really, you know, that we don't have this everlasting Duracell bunny capability to keep going and firing on all cylinders. It's not what we're here for, to do that. And when we go through different stages of life, we take on different roles, such as being an elder, you know, passing on the wisdom, being a crone. I'm officially a crone now. I've been in menopause for over a year now. So yeah, that feels very different as well. And of course, that's not celebrated in a lot of the youth culture and the egoic culture that we're in now. So we're losing a lot of that wisdom. And that's a big drive at the moment on letting go of elders in our community in a very focused way. Let's put it that way. So tomorrow we have Mars in Sagittarius conjoining the galactic center. And again, what I'm learning over time, experientially by living the astrology, is I can feel it. So I can feel the shift of how we have the sun coming in and then Mars coming behind, taking action. So again, if you look at it in a different way, so the sun brings the light. So we've got the sun of what's going on each month and how that has, like a computer program, if you like, it's running a template, it's running its particular show of Capricorn energy. So the disciple being disciplined. And of course, in the old days, you would, and it's certainly in some places in the world now, depending on your lifestyle, you would have had to be really disciplined during the winter months. You know, you've got to ration your food to make sure it doesn't run out. There's no guarantee that the sun's going to come. You don't know that, you know, all the pagan festivals, excuse me. So bear with me because I've got a frog in my throat. Yeah, so there's all of that. If you look back, and again, you know, what do we know really? We don't, you know, we can only tune in, we've got certain theories about things, but if you look at all the patterns that came before that created how human beings have evolved or devolved, depending on which way you look at it, you can see how everything came before in order to create these particular energies. And so once you've got the energy of the sun giving light to bringing light consciousness, then you can see how Mars then comes in behind that, taking action, because we've got that consciousness, we've got that light, we've got that awareness coming in more and more. And the more we get clear, the more we become focused and in our warrior energy, and warrior from the heart, from the healed heart, following our spiritual guidance rather than our old ego past story where we're still holding grudges, you know, where we have anger. It's not easy to do, especially at this time. So Mars conjoins the galactic center tomorrow. So it's going to bring that warrior energy to creating new scripts, new stories, letting go of the Akashic record, preparing us for coming out the other side with the 10 Akashic record. And on Friday, we reach the last day. So remember, this whole 13-day process has been around what needs to shift around the health story, what needs to shift around the unconscious story where we've been acting unconsciously. And that is found in our Saturnian patterns. And then we go into step 1, Aquarius there, 1 degree, and that's very much the heart. And so tomorrow, getting crystal clear. Friday, what needs to shift. And Mercury is at 5 degrees of Aquarius. So that's overtone on Friday as well. So I think that's going to be quite a dynamic day on Friday. So again, going back to the North Node. So if you focus on what was happening for you April 2003 to December 2004. That was the last time the North Node was in Taurus and the South Node was in Scorpio. And also, so remember, we've got Uranus in Taurus until April 2026. So a long time we've got this energy. And the last time Uranus was there was 1934 to 1941. So you think what was happening then around what was going on in Europe in particular, then again, if you start to look at cycles and circles, regardless of astrology, but if you just really tune into that now, around how we have to keep repeating patterns. So as an individual, we keep going round the block, and each time we come into more wisdom, hopefully. It doesn't matter what people say, we've got our own experience, we've been there before, and maybe things that people are telling us don't gel with what our own experience is. That's a crucial mastery learning. And so mastery does take a while to come into embodiment. It's not something you can just beam up overnight, you know. So you might have done an academia learning skill set, and then the next stage is to actually put that into practice in the field or in your job or in your life. So again, learning psychology, you learn lots of theories, but then actually once you go into working with people, you can see how that actually works in practice. And again, it's like reading about being a parent. Different people will give you advice based on their awareness, their view, their perception, their lens of the world. We're here as human being experiences with a spirit on board to guide us, and some people don't even have that belief, so they're going to have a very different experience from somebody who does believe that and believes that they're here to learn and is open to new learning, than somebody who's very close-minded and doesn't have any faith. And again, there's always a pattern around that. So in terms of Aquarius, so exciting finishing off this wave spell with this Aquarius energy and this whole different vibe, because it is about what is resonating for us. And so in the last wave spell, we've had, you know, this resonance, what was going on for you then, how were you feeling? We're in resonant moon, of course, so it's all perfectly aligned. What's the truth? What feels authentic? What feels good? What feels real? And again, rather than dogma. So this week we have got, of course, Venus is still retrograde, Mercury is still retrograde, and so we're still going over old mindsets, in particular with groups as well. I feel this is significant as well. So what's your truth around your group? What's the value for it? Do you fit in with that group? Do you share the same values? Or do you not? And finding our tribe, finding people who match how we want to be, and most importantly, focusing on bringing up our own self-esteem, our own self-value, our own self-worth. That's the priority we're in this 260-day purification process of valuing and loving the goddess coming into balance in us, whatever that means for you, around being an equal being to everybody else and being treated as such, coming into sovereignty, coming into remembering that we are sacred beings and treating ourselves with reverence. So I hope you have an amazing 20-day period of becoming self-existing through letting go of your survival issues. This is what we're here to do at this time. So let's do it. Lots of love.